random guy named Juan, self-proclaimed arbiter of all things good, pure, and light in Venezuela, has said that he will only assume the presidency if he has the support of the military. He said that a few days ago, and there was a giant chorus of crickets from the actual military in Venezuela, basically telling him to go take a flying leap. Well, since we can just pick random guys named Juan and call them president, why don't we just pick a whole bunch of random people in Peru, and put them in uniforms and then have them say that they are Venezuelan soldiers who are defecting? Well, that's exactly what's going on. If you thought the crisis actors in America took things seriously, you should see what they're doing down here. But they made a mistake. They, of course, made a mistake because they're a bunch of amateurs. See, this is the close-up of two of these guys they're interviewing. And there is some conspicuous problems with their uniforms. First of all, they're wearing cover inside, which nobody in the military does, not even in South America. Second of all, now, their ranks are a little different. They're not trying to pass themselves off as 1- and 2-star generals here. This is the equivalent rank for them of 1st and 2nd lieutenant. This guy over here, on his right collar, his rank is, it's Velcro attach, and officers would more than likely have these embroidered because you're in rank for a while, and more than likely when you get promoted, you'll get new uniforms anyway. Third, they don't even have the name of the military correct. See, this is the name of the soldier. This is the name of the military. Over here, FAN should read FANB if these were really Venezuelan soldiers. Fuerzas Armadas Nacional Bolivariana. And if you think I'm making that up, there's their commander. As you can see down here, it's kind of hard under the watermark, but it says FANB. It says FANB on the guy to his right and the guy behind him. Here's another picture of the same guy wearing the same uniform. FANB. Here's even a better picture of a bunch of more soldiers. FANB. And as you can see, officers have embroidered ranks, meaning that they don't have the Velcro attached ones that NCOs and enlisted do. And one final picture here. These are riot control. FANB. Fuerzas Armadas Nacional Bolivariana. They have always been called that. And you can look up Venezuelan military ranks, and the National Bolivarian Armed Forces of Venezuela. It's what they have always been called. So their make-believe crisis actors can't even get the uniforms right. I mean, 3 separate things. You don't wear cover inside. His rank is that of an enlisted man when he's supposedly an officer. I mean, the rank itself is correct, but these Velcro frip attachy things, officers don't do this. And they have the name tag completely, totally wrong. FAN. It just would mean Fuerzas Armadas Nacional. It wouldn't identify you as a member of any specific military at all. And they're, on top of that, they're in Peru. And I'll link these videos. They're, of course, all in Spanish, but it's just another piece of the puzzle that we are now making it very clear who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And this is Miami Herald. I've said before, this is something that is being handled from Miami, not from Venezuela. And you can see the U.S.'s fingerprints all over it. Now contrast this, and this is the part where I want you guys to think critically. They are telling you, they want you to believe that you should get behind traitors, soldiers committing treason from other countries in South America, but your own soldiers and sailors here are inept. They don't know how to pilot their vessel. They're low morale. They're unmotivated. And that's what you should believe about America's sailors. When make-believe people in uniform pretending to be Venezuelan soldiers act in a treasonous and seditious way, you're supposed to get behind that. But when our sailors act like heroes and through an amazing amount of drive, determination, and will to survive, they kept this ship afloat. No one has asked that question, and I would really like someone to answer it for me. How could a crew so poorly trained, so poorly motivated, led by such a bunch of inept sad sacks, when the time came in the middle of the night to save their ship and do things at general quarters they might have never done before, they did it heroically and saved their ship? How in the world is that possible? They saved the life of their captain, who allegedly was hanging from the skin of the ship and was very badly wounded. They had to make some hard choices and seal off compartments, and they kept the ship afloat, when by all rights it should have sunk. An amazing contrast between what they want you to believe now about the crew of the Fitzgerald and what actually happened the night of 17 June 2017. And they're trying to push this out because they're going to try to hang these two officers. This is what our media is trying to do. While they let all the guys up the chain, all the admirals and all those that probably were responsible for some things that they need to be held accountable for, they let them retire. They let them go with their golden parachutes. They took the crew of this vessel and scattered them to the wind. And then the officer corps, they have demonized one by one by one, working their way up the chain. And they're going to, figuratively, try to hang a guy who was only in charge of that ship for about a month. If the problems were so systemic, and even if you want to believe that, how could you hang it on a guy who'd only been there for 4 weeks? This is the problem. Their story makes no sense. And when you see it in contrast with this crap out of Venezuela, it's even more sickening. Now, a random guy named Juan has been calling for violence, calling for uprisings, calling for all sorts of problems, strife, and dissension to occur in Venezuela. That's what the goal of the United States has been from the beginning. That's what sanctions are designed to do. If you don't think that's the case, look up sanctions, economic sanctions, and what their goal is. Their goal is to create economic unrest and political strife in a country in order to get the people of the country to get rid of the leader. Well, that hasn't happened. In fact, the president of Venezuela spoke earlier, yesterday actually, and after all of this crap from random guy named Juan and all of this talk about military intervention and coups, he put out a plan called Venezuela Bella, and it is the idea of monies being set aside to repair the damage in peace, to put the cities back together, to clean up the streets, to clean up the parks, to get lighting reestablished, to help build back up the electric grid so that they can have a life worth living in peace. Now, if this guy were truly the heavy-handed dictator warmonger that everybody wants you to believe he is, why wouldn't we be seeing massive amounts of military doing exercises in the streets? Why wouldn't we see tanks rolling down Main Street and all sorts of stuff getting brought up, activated? We don't. Because the man doesn't feel threatened. He knows he has the backing of his people. He knows he has a 1.6 million strong armed militia ready to defend that country. And he also knows that he has the military behind him. In fact, at this speech here, the first person he acknowledges is Mr. Lopez. And as you can see, FANB. I'll link this as well. So, while the U.S. wants you to believe that Colombia is the good guys, Colombia, the country that making peace talks is illegal now, a place where literally every day there are bombings and attacks and kidnappings and drug trafficking and the highest levels of corruption anywhere in the world. While that goes on in Colombia, over here, the U.S. wants you to think that this place over here on the right is the problem. They're even talking now about an oil embargo on Venezuela. And the reason they haven't done it is because it would cause an immediate one-day spike of 15 cents per gallon gasoline. That's how dependent we are on Venezuela. And that's how long we have been allies with them. I know most Americans have a hard time wrapping their head around that idea. But they were our ally for a long time. We moved away from them, not the other way around. We'll leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.